And welcome back to Littles by Lira. Today we're going to make 3 spooky candle jars, so buckle in, it's going to be a spooky ride. To start, we're going to get one of these packs of bone and skull necklaces from the Dollar Tree. They come in packs of 4. You'll only really need 3 packs for this. I separate the necklaces from each other because of course they're tangled. It is Dollar Tree after all. And then I go ahead and pull those little end caps off the tops of the necklaces that keep them as, one solid necklace. I noticed that when I did that, there are little tiny balls up at the top, and that's what the plastic caps hold on to make the circle of the necklace. So I cut the little balls off, and then I took my necklaces and measured them out from the top of the jar to the bottom. Next, taking a little bit of hot glue, I adhere the top bead or skull or bone to the top of the candle jar, and then I take a little more hot glue and adhere the bottom or the end of the strand in the same fashion. My pattern was orange, then purple, then black, and then orange again, and I just did this all the way around the candle jar. After I had finished hearing the necklace strands around the jar, I noticed that in some places, primarily the skulls, they wanted to turn and look either left or right, and I wanted, obviously, for them to look out, because being stared at by a skull head is incredibly creepy. And so I took a little bit of hot glue and glued the head so it was facing out. You can do this as you apply the necklaces to the jar. If there were any gaps where the necklace was not long enough to fill in, I took the beads that I cut from the top of the candle jar, or from the top of the necklace, the ones that were held in by the little plastic pieces, and I just went around and I glued them in to fill in any spots, as you can see here. Finally, I took a stiff paintbrush and brushed over lightly to remove any of the hot glue wisps that may have adhered to the jar when I was finished gluing everything into place. Now I noticed this guy was a little short and I wanted to give him some height, so I took some of the pawns from the chess set, also from Dollar Tree. I took 4 of them and I hot glued them around the base of the candle jar just to give it a little height and pull it up off the table. Now, obviously you can use E6000 or Fix-All for all the gluing to make it a more permanent hold. Next, I took some Rust-Oleum 2 times matte black and sprayed a Dollar Tree candlestick. Then I got a little bag of bones, also from the Dollar Tree, and I began adhering them around my next candle jar. All of these candle jars were gifted to me by my friend Cole. Thanks, Cole. And there were 3 black ones, and I figured black would be perfect to set off my Halloween decor. Now, these little bags of bones, they have 2 sizes. There's big ones. Oh, they're Bed Bath & Beyond candles, I think, or Bath and Body. I think Bath and Body. I always get those names confused. They're too similar. Anyway, the big bones I put at the top, or I guess, well, my typical go-to, north, east, south, and west, and then I just filled in around the candle jar the rest of the way. When I was finished, I used all the large bones and then had one of the small bones left over. I don't have a medical degree. I'm going to say these are femur bones, but if you know better, please drop me a line down in the comments, because I'm a little curious which kind of bones these are, other than maybe they're just bones, what you might think a bone might look like. Anyway, After I got the large bones glued into place, I went back and in the spaces between the bones, I just filled it in with the small bones. When I got the small bones into place, of course, this one also needs a little height. So I took that candlestick holder from the Dollar Tree that we spray painted black. I'm a little tongue-tied today. I do apologize, ladies and gents. And hot glued it to the bottom of the candle jar. Again, E6000 or Fix-All adhesive would be a permanent hold. But like everybody else, I am on a budget, and sometimes I have to reuse my crafting supplies. Once that's centered and in place, this one is done. And finally, I think this probably is my favorite candle jar. I took one of the large skeletons, also from the Dollar Tree. I know you're shocked. I cut the hanging loop off the top of his head. And then, well, I decapitated him. Sorry, buddy. If you hear any sniffles, as always, allergy season, allergy day. I apologize. Back to the video. So I put the skeleton head up against my candle jar, figured out my placement, and roughly how far out of the jar I would like this little head to go. So I took a pair of scissors, and it's thin plastic, so any pair of scissors will do nicely, and cut the back of his cranium off. Then, with a little bit of hot glue, I went ahead and I glued that little skull face down. Now you see here I'm just using the scissors to prop my candle jar so it doesn't roll off my table and explode on my floor, causing thousands of shards of glass to cut everybody's feet up. Good thinking. I recommend doing this, just so you know. So taking my hot glue, I ran a bead around the cut plastic and put his little face in place. If there were any gaps, I just used a little more hot glue to fill them in and did this all the way around the skull head. After I was pleased with the way he looks, I took this little packet of palm bones from the Dollar Tree. Basically, it's just hands, but whatever. And using my miter shears, because this is a thicker plastic, you could probably use pliers. I just cut the little base parts off, I guess the rests. Oh, also, real quick, these are actually mirror images of each other, so you get, a full set of hands times 5. There are 10 hands in here. So make sure that you've got a left and a right hand. Unless your skeleton's got 2 left hands or 2 right hands, then you do you, whatever makes you happy. Using a little bit of hot glue, I adhere the hands to the sides of the jar a little bit forward, so not like here's the head and let's go directly to the sides. I want the hands to look like they are coming out embracing. And like I said, using the hot glue, I put those into place. Again, because I'm a broken record today, you could use E6000 or Fix-All adhesive to make sure that these are permanent holds. He just cracks me up. Okay, so grabbing the 4-pack of these small skeletons, I'm going to make it look like dude is hugging his homies. There, that I said it, and you can't make me take it back. So I leave the jar flat on the countertop or table, whatever you're crafting on, and place the skeleton down in a seated position, figure out the tilt of his head. I run some hot glue across his clavicle, or no, not clavicle, shoulder bones, because clavicle's in the front and shoulder bones are in the back. And I put him snugged up against the glass with a little bit of hot glue at his head to keep his head turned towards the boss or the mom skeleton. I don't know, what do you think he is or she? Let me know down in the comments. But I do this for both sides of the candle jar. It just needed something. I kind of liked the idea of, the skeleton coming out of the glass jar. But he just needed friends. Everybody, even skeletons, need friends. So there you go. I did this to both sides of the candle jar. Now, recognizing that the back of the jar was looking a little plain, I took a third of the mini skeletons, cut the hanging cord from the top of his head in that little plastic piece, and put him kind of leaning over. Hey guys, what you doing over there? Kind of like that, as one does. I took a little bit of hot glue and put it down his forearms. I don't know, guys. I told you, I'm not a doctor. I don't know the bones. I'm sorry. I know a cranium because, zombies and brains and, that fascinates me, so I know that. But beyond that, I'm feeling around in the dark here. Anyway, so I put the hot glue down the forearms and have him peeking over the back of the jar towards the front. And this is what I got. I hope you enjoyed today's spooky candle jars. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.